We are going to start with the first question for seat 4 with, who started? John VALDES. What is the appropriate role of tourism in our city?
First I have to answer that, don't I? Appropriate role for tourism in our city. There's lots of things we could talk about. I think the most important thing we need to talk about is how we can get the tourists who come and visit here, who love this place, which we all were when we first came here, tourists, how we can get them to contribute more to the city coffers to help offset the cost of them being here and to also offset our ad valorem taxes, which sooner or later are going to be forced up. So most importantly, we need to find a way to collect more money without, of course, forcing them away.
Thank you, John. A major issue facing neighborhoods is deferred maintenance for infrastructure. Streets, storm sewers, water lines, sidewalks, underground utilities, with the cost rising each year as more and more is deferred. What is your specific plan for correcting this problem? John?
Well, what Todd says resonates with me. It has a lot to do with it. It's very important. How do you pay for it when you need it? We need to look at how we are paying for things, where the money's coming from. But, you know, from where I come from, which is building, we deal with critical paths. We deal with putting things together, looking down the road 5, 6, 8, 10, a year, 2 years. We figure out how things work, then we deliver later on, hopefully making a profit, hopefully having enough to cover the warranty. My critical path with deferred maintenance, and by the way, I congratulate the city. Right now, we're doing a good job. Martha Graham's doing a good job. John Reagan's doing a good job. We came out of several years of not working on our infrastructure. And there was a lot of money saved, but a lot of money wasn't spent. We should have been. Now we're kind of paying for it a little bit. What we need to do is we need to identify the neighborhoods that have the critical need. We need to create a critical path. What needs to be fixed first, and how can we go about doing it? And we basically put together a list based on need. Then we identify that with how are we going to finance those needs, and we go to work in prioritizing and working through it. This is not rocket science, this is construction. Okay, this is like building pyramids, which is kind of like what I do. And you know, you have to identify what needs to be done first, what's most critical, what affects the most neighborhoods, what's going to cost us the most, and what do we have money for to address. Then we need to go find the money, okay? A lot of what Todd says resonates with that. Then we need not to get so far behind the power curve again. What Ron's talking about, deferred maintenance. We can't afford to defer. You defer, it's not taking care of your car. You don't put oil in, change the oil regularly, you buy a new engine. That's what we're doing right now. We're buying a lot of new engines. Thank you.
Question 3 for seat 4. Another of the major issues facing neighborhoods is traffic management and parking. How will you specifically manage this issue?
Again, I agree with Todd on that. Actually, if you go to my website, vote for John VALDES, you'll see a blog on there called "The Genie's Out of the Bottle Looking for a Parking Space." And what I talk about there is satellite parking and the advantage of satellite parking, because we put it out at the ends of our entry borders, which are pretty carefully termed entry because it implies you go through to get someplace else. It will revitalize those areas. For instance, we have a parking area out by the alligator farm, and you have trams and trolleys running back and forth. They're going to be running at a lower speed. It's going to allow people to take interest instead of just zipping through. And it will help properties become more valuable, which means they become more valuable, which means they become more taxable, which offsets our ad valorem taxes again. Another thing I want to talk about is the private sector getting into the parking business. I happen to know right now we have people in the private sector setting up a 50-spot parking lot with a tourist information center and a relationship with the trolleys. There's money in their cars. Let's get the private sector making that money and paying taxes on it. The other thing I want to talk about, this came to me in a meeting the other day with some kids who work downtown in a gallery. They said, why can't we go online and buy a park and ride pass with a PayPal, print it out, put it in our windshield, park in the parking garage, and get out and present it to a trolley or a train and ride to work instead of parking in neighborhoods and having every 3 hours go out there and stuff. Oh, by the way, the little plastic cards, the problem with the plastic cards, you can't find a parking place to go get one. So, there's lots of things that can be done with this. And of course, we also need to talk to our friends at Florida College about maybe a parking garage or someplace that providing transportation for their students. Good idea. I think they probably could.
Question 4 for seat 4. Current city codes and enforcements do not adequately protect neighborhoods from business and institutional encroachment. How will you address this issue?
I've sat on the planning and zoning board for, I guess, a total of 12 years now. I've been on HAR, I've been on code enforcement, Board of Justice and Appeals, 22 years being on boards. In those 22 years, I've said and wanted to kill things, change things, deny things, never had the ability to do it because I didn't have the laws at my beck and call because we didn't have laws to address them. Now, of course, the first thing that jumps to mind right here is the 7-Eleven debacle. Okay, we all drove past that sign for years, said for sale. None of us thought about checking, see if you could build a 7-Eleven with a bunch of gas pumps there. Turns out you can. Well, one of the things I want to do, and been wanting to do it for a long time, is look at our zoning codes and our building codes, go back and address the things where we're short. We don't really short places. We have a building code that was adopted in '75, the zoning code about the same time. And part of the planning and zoning board's problem is the fact that we're dealing with things, if our code was up to date and tight, we wouldn't have to deal with it because it would be before the planning and zoning board. We have to go back. It's a boring, tedious job. It's going to cost money, but it's something that has to be done. It's a fundamental building block of a city is the regs, the laws, as Joe says. If you don't have the laws, you can't enforce them. And first thing we've got to do to adequately protect neighborhoods is go through and look at what can and cannot be done in those neighborhoods. And if it doesn't make sense in real time, today, boots on the ground, we change it. We address it every time. It's called being proactive versus reactive. We've been reactive for too long. We've got to get ahead of the power curve. And doing that is going to be tiresome, but the time is now.
Question 5 for seat 4. In order for you to feel successful in your role as a commissioner, what will you accomplish?
Again, I agree. One of the things we are blessed with here, and most of us came from someplace else, and we fell in love with this thing called St. Augustine. I came here 28 years ago, planned on being here 3 years. I'm still here running for city commission, go figure. There's a magic here. People ask me what my vision is of St. Augustine. I'm living it. My plans for St. Augustine is to make it better. Now, making it better includes everything that Ron and Todd just talked about, words and other things. I'm a 5th generation Floridian, a 3rd generation builder. My family developed things in Central Florida, so we were part of the people that changed things in a big way. I recognize what St. Augustine and St. Johns County is facing is change in a big way. It's what I call being loved to death. And we're going to be loved to death, just like we fell in love with this place and made it our home. Other people do the same thing. We have to have in place what it takes to make them understand that their very presence is going to change it. But if they're not careful, they will do things that will change it dramatically, and we will lose the very thing that makes this town special. It's the people, it's our heritage, and believe it or not, something we never talk about, it's our environment, our natural environment. This is one of the last parts of Florida that's unspoiled. We haven't spoiled Northeast Florida and St. Johns County to the point of mediocrity yet by development. It's coming. Florida fills up from the bottom. It's our turn. What my successful role would be is being the commissioner that helped guide us through this pivotal change time. This is pivotal. We've got to get it right. Change occurs. If you don't control it, you have havoc. If you control it, you have something special. We got it special. We got to keep it special. Let's keep it.
Seat 4, question 6. When people leave here tonight, what is the one thing you want them to remember about you?
Another word for integrity is honesty. I think those of you who've known me and watched me for the last 20-some-odd years on boards have heard me make decisions, and sometimes they weren't the right decision. I make mistakes. Sometimes I make the wrong decision. I reverse myself. But one thing I always did for you, and have always been is honest. Integrity is honesty, and I will honestly serve you. I will do my very best to make the right decision. If I make the wrong decision, I'll have the courage to say I was wrong and reverse that decision. You've seen me do it if you watched me on the Planning and Zoning Board. Honesty, integrity, interchangeable words. I agree with Todd. I agree with the Mayor's Board. That's what's important.